I took marketing and entrepreneurship. I took college classes my junior and senior year because I had taken everything that I could take in high school, and I just was thirsty for more knowledge. So I started my first business when I was 18, and I've had several businesses. I'm in my 40s now, and I've learned a lot.
Cheers. And welcome to Fuck Your Podcast. I'm Emma Pardo.
And I'm Katy Martin. And we have a special guest today. We have Nikki Corson, who I've known for a while and is amazing, an entrepreneur in a couple very different industries. So we're excited to have you on the podcast. So tell the listeners a little bit about you, and then we'll get into like what we're going to talk about.
Great. Well, how much time do we have? No, I'm just kidding. So I was born an entrepreneur. I definitely have been different from my family since the day I was born. And I definitely just knew, even as a very, very young child, that I was different and I was meant to do more than my surroundings.
Right.
I didn't understand it, but I just had this feeling. And in ninth grade, I definitely knew what I wanted to do. And it's really young to know. And I took a marketing class, ninth grade, at least when I was in high school, 50 years ago. Your first year in high school, you kind of had to like take all of the different electives. They call it like a wheel or something like that. And so I forgot how long you went to each one, just to get a little taste of everything, because they know you're young and you don't have no idea what the hell you want to do. So they kind of forced everyone in those days to try a little bit of everything. So marketing was offered at my school, and I probably would have never taken that being, 13, but I absolutely fell in love with it. And then, so all of my classes for the rest of my high school years, I took marketing and entrepreneurship. I took college classes my junior and senior year because I had taken everything that I could take in high school, and I just was thirsty for more knowledge. I joined, show you what a cool fucking nerd I was. I joined a marketing association for high school students. So I did that. I also did cheer and dance. I wasn't like a total nerd. But I love still to this day to nerd out. But I ended up becoming president of that chapter and competing all over the country, writing business plans, believe it or not.
That's awesome.
I had a passion really young, and I knew, so I started my first business when I was 18, and I've had several businesses. I'm in my 40s now, and I've learned a lot. I've learned, what doesn't work, what works. I learned some very expensive lessons, who to trust, who not to trust, and everything in between. So, a little bit about me, but definitely business, entrepreneurship just is running in my veins. And I don't know where I get it from, because no one else in my family is like I am, but I thank God that I am. So
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. And it's weird how you just know, you have that feeling, and sometimes people don't figure it out till they're a little bit older. You're lucky to kind of have that spark in going into high school. And man, I'm super jealous of a high school having those types of programs, because there's not always that opportunity. And a lot of kids, the education, we could get on a whole rant about the education system, but entrepreneurship, sometimes you don't even get exposure to marketing outside of a consumer education class. And that's a requirement to graduate. And it's it's not even a semester. It's a quarter of your school year. So it doesn't even really cover enough to even, maybe even spark someone's interest in, in the world of marketing. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I was very blessed. And I think, it's everything happens for a reason, or at least I believe that.
Right.
What are the odds? And my high school actually offered 2 different marketing courses that you could take throughout your 3-4 years at high school. And the marketing chapter that I mentioned that I joined, it was called DECA at the time.
It's still DECA.
Is it? Do they still? I thought they changed it.
No, it's still, at least when I was in high school, which was...
Okay. Looks like last year. And I mean that in a very super...
No, I know. I understand. I appreciate it. I graduated in 2016. So
Okay.
It was still
Yeah.
DECA that
all
I
those
don't know
years
if it's
ago.
I don't know if it's changed now, but it was still DECA when I was there.
Okay,
So-
so it's an association of marketing students, and I have no idea what it looks like now, but it just so happened that the chapter that I joined was run by my marketing teacher, and I got super involved. Like, and I know this like long time ago, but I was so lucky and so blessed to have that outlet, and I did all things marketing and entrepreneurship. It was amazing, and I took they did much like student council. They would take vote on who to have the different positions, and each year I ran for something. In my senior year I became president, and it taught me so much. So much. I almost want to say more than college, but I can't quite say that. But it did expose me to a lot.
It could be depending on the college, because I've seen college marketing programs that are not great.
I know. And I went to a community. I didn't go to Harvard, guys. I went to a community college, and I didn't even finish because, of course, I'm like, I already fucking learned all this stuff.
Right.
They're teaching me. What the hell am I doing? And I'm ready to get started. I'm not saying that's the route that everyone should take, but that's the route that I took. I'm like, fuck this. I'm ready to make money.
And we met obviously through the roofing industry. And I can tell you, just in the time that I started in the roofing industry until I kind of moved more into, consulting and things like that, just the drastic change in those, 6-7 years, and so I can't imagine because I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know that was anything I wanted to be involved in until I was way grown up, way later. I don't even know what that would have been like in the time like that you and I would have been in college or even after college. And so what was your first real taste of entrepreneurship, like out of, once you decided I want to go make money?
So when I graduated high school, I was working as a waitress, but I knew I'm going to start a business right now.
Yep.
So I opened a concierge service. So I was waiting tables at night. I was taking classes at night, and I only had like 1 or 2 classes during the day, and it wasn't even every day because I wanted to work too. So I wasn't just, going to school. So I opened a concierge business, and I ran errands for people, picked up their dry cleaning, grocery shop. This is way, way, way before Instacart. Kids up, or take them, to their summer activities, or pick them up from school and take them to daycare. I didn't watch kids, but, I transported some kids, because the parents couldn't leave work, or didn't want to have to leave work, but wanted their kids to be able to do extracurricular activities and just weren't able to, work it out. So I did all kinds of various things. It was, so it was a concierge service, and it was really cool. And I got to, I didn't have to be like chained to a desk per se. And I got to be all over and meet a whole bunch of people. I wrote out, my little business plan, because of course I'd learned how to do that. And I just, started networking and going into medical offices and taking my flyers. Then I'm 18, and, the internet wasn't anywhere near like it is today. So, we were still very much doing things in person, and, putting flyers on cars and that kind of thing was still, acceptable especially for what I was doing, acceptable forms of marketing. But I really just went into businesses because the working moms and the working professionals were my target market. The ones that are too busy to go run, do all these little annoying things that have to be done. People really weren't like paying their bills online like they are now. So even, taking mail, or it was just crazy. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, wow, like I did so many things that everybody just does online now, but that wasn't a thing back then. So it was a cool little.
Yeah. It was services that were necessary.
Right.
Before technology takes over.
Before it's time, for sure. Before it's time. Because that's all I do. I don't like to, I work from home. Cole works from home. We rarely leave the house. And if I'm going to run errands, it's like pick up crew from school, or it's like I'll order groceries online. I'm not going to go out.
I try to do that. I try to do that whenever I can. And that's one of those things that you didn't think about when, 15 years ago when you had small kids. Like now if I had small children, which thank God I don't, I have older children that could run errands if I need them to. But I mean, I can imagine the time that it saves, or just the headache and the stress of, like you said, being a busy mom and having to go and do stuff like that. But yeah, I'd order groceries and do all that stuff as much as I possibly can. So so I'm trying to think of I know some of this, but fast forward a little down the road when you and Dave met. He was in the roofing industry, and roof crafters. The reason I wanted to touch on that and kind of segue into that is because of it being such a powerful brand. And obviously that's kind of that's how we met one another. Yeah. How did that come about, and the branding and the marketing start with that business?
Yeah. So the brand that was and is Roof Crafters, I really have to give to Dave. He had done that before we had met, and he definitely he didn't have any quote unquote formal training. Sure. But he had lots of real life training and experience. And he is a brilliant man, I just have to say. And he gets it. He just gets it. He gets marketing. He way, way beyond myself. As I ventured more into entrepreneurship, I veered away from the marketing, studying it, staying on top of it, and more into the operational. I'm super analytical, and I can get creative, but I definitely have more of the analytical brain.
Right.
And I like the number aspect and systems and processes and all those boring things that most people start falling asleep. So I won't talk about it too much. I don't want anybody falling asleep on me. But so yeah, I had owned a property management company and had, in my early 20s, had a pretty good size successful business that I was running. And it started out property management. And then I started doing turns, turnkey service for apartments, condos, rental houses, things like that. Just pretty much every aspect in getting those ready to re-rent or release. And in that, I got a nice taste of workers' comp and audits and and all those things. And luckily, it wasn't in a super high risk industry, but I got to learn, because, it's a game. I don't care what you say. And I know I'm not like the biggest fan of insurance companies. I'll go ahead and disclose that. They're about as corrupt up there as politics, but that's a story for another day.
I'm dealing with that right now with insurance companies.
Yeah, they're a business. I see their side. I definitely do, but they're very corrupt. So, and when I met Dave, it was not in a professional setting. It was in a personal setting. And as we got to know each other, he, disclosed more and more some of the things that he was dealing with. And it was all operational stuff, marketing, sales. And he had a successful business. So he got it, but there's a lot of back end stuff that has to be done, has to be kept up, that he just wasn't. He's one person. He didn't have time to, he hated it. So of course, all the stuff that we hate, we put off.
Right.
And at the time, he had two partners, and, that was starting to become a hot mess, and just paired with some of the things that he was facing, overdue audits and some lawsuits. And it was just kind of crazy. I was like, I can help you get all of this straight, like the stuff that you're needing to submit and all, I got you. Just, give me access to this and this, and I'll get you straight. So it kind of started off as that. And then his partners wanted to leave. They wanted out. And that was a very good thing. But everything was very intertwined and a mess. So I decided to purchase the assets of Roof Crafters Rafters, and it did go through a name change. And I kind of just started over because that company was going to be in the legal process for a while with him, the partners, and this and that. And he wanted to just dissolve it anyway. But I was like, wow, you've done such an amazing job branding. Of course, he could start over. He could start over and create another successful roofing company. But I kind of just said, you know what, I'm going to take the logo. I'm going to take the assets. I consulted with an attorney, obviously, like, okay, what does this look like? Do something like this. I don't want to be dragged into anything from their past and that they have going on. I want to start fresh, but I want to be able to use the logo and keep the phone numbers and, like, you know, finish building what Dave had started. And so he had a really good base, a good foundation as far as how well he branded the logo, and his territories the company was very well known. He had a great reputation. He focused on customer service. And I'm like, that I don't want to let that go.
It's a good foundation. It's a good foundation to not rebuild, but not at the same time. Yeah,
exactly. So, and I didn't know anything. I had been around construction. My property management business had extended into doing painting and cleaning services for new homes. And this was during the real estate boom. So I had tons of accounts with, Centex and DR Horton and all the builders, because they were building, those communities freaking out. So I was around construction a lot, but that didn't make me like a roofing expert by any means. I would even say I didn't really know anything about roofing. I knew how to spell roof. And I was about it. So I took over, I bought the assets, and I went to classes because I like to learn. I do. And but I had to get the licensing. So I got a higher level license than Dave had ever had in South Carolina and Georgia. That enabled me to do more work, more commercial work, especially because it's limited based on your license level. And then we ended up expanding into Florida. So I got the licensing for Florida. And now we just started in Jacksonville. And now we're from Jacksonville, or really the state line, all the way down to Fort Myers.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, we cover a very wide territory in Florida. So,
which is good.
Yeah, we did that, over the last, really since I've known you, Katy. And when we met, we were just getting started in Jacksonville. Like, I had just got the licensing. So that's all happened just in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
We have about 60 employees now that are full-time W-2 employees. We have maybe 3 people that are 1099. So it's a pretty big operation now.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. That's exciting though.
Yeah. It's been a journey.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, but how exciting, like so now I'm just thinking about like where you guys were and again, you just described it over the last 6 years, that like the amount of growth and the amount of work that you and Dave have put into the business, and having to hire some of the right people to help get you there, and getting it to where it's sustaining fairly well, because now you've started another company. And are there other ones that I don't know about? Like, are you owning more than just the 2 at this stage?
So as far as roofing companies, no, it's just the one. I started a personal brand, and I'm kind of expanding underneath that I'm releasing in July, but it's going to be coaching and retreats and
nice.
Everything around personal self-development and kind of just getting our head out of our own ass, because
I like it.
Yeah.
Everybody needs it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm an expert at wedging my head up my own ass sometimes. I've had, great mentors throughout my life that have, helped me pull it out when needed. It's like, yeah, Nicole, what? No, I think that analytical mind has helped me just as much as it's hurt me, because then I can overanalyze and make it way more complicated than they have to be. But so, yeah, I've worked on myself quite a bit since you've met me. And honestly, when you met me, I was in much darker place than I even realized I was. I told myself I was fine and I'm great and I'm good. Meanwhile, I'm, drinking a bottle or two of wine every night just so I don't have a stroke. That's not okay. That's not the definition of fine. But, it's you guys working with Smash when I met you did open my eyes to the fact that I had to just realize where I was and be honest with myself. And it wasn't that I wasn't successful or I didn't have things. It was just I had a lot of self-sabotaging going on. I didn't know how to handle emotions. I didn't even do emotions. So I was suppressing everything. And of course, it never goes anywhere, explodes later, usually people that have nothing to do with anything that you're going through. And, it was really you guys opening my eyes to that. And then the journey began. Because realization is one part of it and a very important part of it, but then you've got to do the work, you've got to go through it.
Yeah.
I had a lot of healing that I needed to do. And I really did not know that. I had this, I had self-confidence. And so I don't want to say I didn't have any, but I had built, a wall around my heart and my feelings were suppressed. And I had a false confidence too, though. And I really displayed this false confidence for so long that I even bought it, that I was actually this confident person when really inside, and it was obvious by my actions, that I was really this scared little girl inside that was super insecure, had self-esteem issues, and did not love myself at all. And I thought I did, and I had someone ask me, like, why is it that you don't love yourself? And I'm like, what? What the hell are you talking about?
I was gonna say I can relate to this because I never realized it. Like I feel like that's a common issue, especially with females. Is just having that you think you've got it together, but really you don't, and you kind of know that you don't, but you're not gonna acknowledge it. Deal. And I kind of had the same thing, and I never realized it until Mike Claudio actually called it out. He was talking to me at the Smash event in June, the Reckoning, whatever that was, June last year. And just having conversation, and he was like, I can already tell this is the kind of person that you are just from how you carry yourself. You on the outside, you look really confident. On the inside, this is who you are. And I was like, oh my God, what? I didn't even know what to think. It was just kind of shock, oh, I just got called out. And then making sure I held myself to it after that. And I still struggle with it, but it is what it is. Yeah. It took somebody calling me out for me to go, oh, maybe you're not wrong.
Yeah. No, totally. And it, I think it being someone that you can respect, to point it out. And then you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Because my first reaction was like, what, dude, get the hell out of here.
Well, that was the first time I had met Mike was at the event, and him to say that, I was like, how did you do that? It was maybe you're right. I don't know. It was this whole shock to the system for sure.
Yeah. That's what it takes. And us being open enough and willing enough to take that look inside and be honest with ourselves and go, okay, shit.
Right.
Got work to do here.
Yep. Or sometimes you do know that you have work to do, or or if you're blessed enough to know what you're really self-conscious about. Some people do, but some people are in denial about the certain things that they're super self-conscious. Makes that really, really hard to brand yourself and to promote yourself, because if you're really because that's I would say one of the scariest things. I've had a lot of people who say, how do I get started in X, Y, and Z? Or you sometimes see business owners who are scared to promote the business that they own because they're dealing with their own stuff. That can make that whole process really intimidating. Because you're really putting yourself out there. And if you're struggling with either really appreciating how great you really are or really understanding just who you are, it's going to make your brand come across really fake.
Yeah. Or unstable, or that you don't have it all together, or, and that's not going to sell. That's not going to draw people in. It's definitely
No,
not the right people.
nobody's going to trust you.
Right. Because you don't trust yourself.
Exactly.
So kind of like leading into that with the personal brand that you have, like the Prissy Nikki brand. So that's, you're talking about like, that's where you're going to use that brand and expand into the coaching and self-development side through that brand.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It'll be a branch of it. So
Sure.
my personal brand is Prissy Nikki. And I really started that as a beauty brand, which, you know, obviously is way different than roofing or construction or property management. It has nothing to do with that. But lashes are something that I've just been wearing for a very long time, way before they were popular. I just had bought them, I don't know, I think at like Spencer's or some, you know, because you couldn't get them. When I started wearing them, you weren't getting them at Walgreens or Target or any of these places. And it was probably around Halloween or after, something like that. And they were eyelashes, and they had like right along the strip, they had like little gems. And I thought, oh, how cool. Like when I go out or whatever, that would look so cool at night, having these little, started wearing them. And then I started wearing them like every time I went out. And then it just kind of transformed throughout the years that I was wearing them daily, with gems, without gems, whatever. My favorite color is bling. So anything that shines, I'm all about it. And I was in a place, you know, a lot of entrepreneur, like I have a podcast as well. And all of the entrepreneurs that I talk to that really go deep with me and share their story, is like, we all have the same story, different circumstances, of course, but ends up being the same story in that, you know, from a young age, for whatever reason, whether it's our upbringing or just our society, the neighborhoods we grow up, whatever it is, we are programmed, and we program ourselves to this ideal person that we have to be. And we don't ever stop to think, you know, is that who I really am? And is that who I want to be? It's just like, this is who I'm supposed to be. This is success. This is beauty. This is whatever it is in our heads that we tell ourselves, this is who I'm going to be. I'm going to work towards this, but we don't question. A lot of us, I won't say none of us, but a lot of us, and then we don't question that. One, is that true to who I am? Two, do I even want that? But we just do it. And a part of that is what level of success we want. And, you know, we're told, okay, you've got to go to college, then you get married and you have kids and you get the house with the white picket fence and you save for retirement, you know, and it's like, we're told, okay, here's the steps to a successful life. And most of us bought into it. And what happens when you're doing something that's not in alignment with who you really are, you're going to hit the fucking wall one day, because you're not going to be happy, because it's not who you are. It's not what you really want. You're just doing what you've told yourself you're supposed to do. And so here we are, we have a roofing company in 3 states, firmly retail. We do, you know, storm, but we are set up retail. We're at, you know, 20 million in revenue at that time. And I have the houses and kids and dogs and cars and vacations when I want to, and at the fucking med spa whenever I want to. And all these things. I was fucking miserable. I was depressed. I was miserable. And I didn't know what the hell was wrong with me. And I felt guilty, because I'm thinking about all the boxes that I checked. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do. I've, you know, quote unquote, made it. I was not done by any means expanding and growing the business, but, you know, I had reached a level of success where I'm comfortable. I don't have to worry financially. I have everything that when I was little that I ever wanted. What the fuck is wrong with me then? What is wrong with me? Am I not grateful? And I go inward and I'm like, but I am grateful. I'm so grateful. But that made me feel guilty. Then what the hell is wrong with you? This isn't enough for you. It's just day, and boom, it was answered. Fortunately, this took years of self-sabotage and rebuilding and starting a point where I go, oh, I created this completely unrealistic, unobtainable, unfair image of who I should be. And obviously I was never going to get there. It was completely unfair to me to even put that on myself to achieve something that I literally couldn't. And I know we're like, anything's possible, but like, you know, I'm 5'1" on a good day with my shoes. I have a short torso. I swear to God, it's like 5 inches. I have a short torso. So like being a model is just not in the cards for me. Right. But not that I wanted to be a model, but it's like I had this unfair image of what I think I should look like, the level of success I should have, you know, all these things. So of course I was constantly beating myself up, constantly, disappointed because I didn't invent something or I didn't, and it's just super unfair stuff. And I wasn't going to achieve it. And so I was constantly failing in my mind, even though anyone looking from the outside would say, wow, you've got, I didn't have jets and yachts and all those things too, but I had everything I ever wanted. Right. And these people would look and go, yeah, what the hell are you complaining about?
Yeah.
But it was just this internal war that had been going on for years and years that I wasn't recognizing, I wasn't acknowledging, and I was constantly self-sabotaging because I felt like a failure. I felt like I was worthless. I didn't love myself. I, quite frankly, hated myself in a lot of aspects. I did. I wouldn't say completely, but there were a lot of things about me that I hated because I wasn't this stupid, I'm going to call it stupid now, image that I had sold myself when I was younger. This is who you need to be. But then when I stopped and realized that I was doing that, then I had to ask myself, is that even who you really are? And is that who you even want to try to be? Like, this is fake. Like, what are you doing? And once I was able to honestly say to myself and not feel guilty about it, because I went through this phase of like, no, that's not who I want to be. And I'm not going to try to be that anymore. Then I was like, oh, well, what is it? Are you just going soft? Are you just being easy on yourself because you can't do it? I was ruthless to myself. What is it like everyone gets a trophy, Nicole? Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, it's, because I didn't want to ease up on me and my targets just to be easier on myself. And so I was like, checking myself, like, what are you doing? Are you just giving up? But I had to realize, one, it's unobtainable. Two, that's not even what I really want out of my life.
Right.
It was hard for me to admit that and accept that because I felt like I was taking the easier route or that I was letting myself down or giving up and it wasn't that. I just had to go inward too, because then I go, okay, well, what do I want? Do you know how many years people ask me, Mike Claudio, one of them, Nikki, what do you want? I don't fucking know.
Right.
I don't know what I want. I'm happy with what I have, but I don't know where I want to go from here.
Right.
Yeah. And I couldn't figure out why. And I would, sit down and I'd be like, okay, I'm clearing the afternoon or whatever, and I'm going to figure this out. And the problem is that I was so busy trying to be someone I'm not for most of my life that I didn't fucking know who I was. So how was I ever going to figure out what I want when I don't even fucking know who I am?
Yeah. It's like, this is like the thing that I can relate it to is like when you're going through a breakup with somebody and you have that realization like, oh, this doesn't line up with me. And then it's like, it's scary because you have that basically with yourself. And then when you go to start the like relearning process or even just learning process of yourself, it's like meeting someone new right away. And then you're like, is this even okay? Like you question everything. So that's how I look at it is like when you go through something like that, is the thing that I can relate it to is going through, like a breakup with somebody going, well, this is what I thought when I started this, that this is what this was going to turn into. 3 years later down the road, it's not this. And then like being grateful for all of it, but then realizing this is not like I'm not fulfilled because it's not what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And going through that breakup process. And then when you go to rediscover yourself, it's, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like going into it. I just know that it's like being open. Just, you have to be open to learning yourself for that to even feel successful.
Yeah. And what I see, like, to, go full circle, what I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing and struggling is with that very same thing. If they're struggling in their marketing and they're struggling, with who their target market is, and they're struggling with all these different things, what I see now that I've gone through all of this work on myself and journey for self-love and acceptance is that, I can just point it out now. It's like, oh, okay, well, you're struggling because you don't know who the fuck you are. That's why.
Right.
It's like,
right.
I don't say it like that, because I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but it's just, now I can see it because I've been through it. And it's like, yeah, dude or girl, you gotta just go sit with yourself and have a real conversation.
I was going to say, come to Jesus moment with yourself. Yeah, right. But I was going to ask, what was the reaction of the people around you when you started making that adjustment? Like, not everybody, people like that version of it. Like, what was the reaction and how did people support that when you went through that?
Oh my gosh, man. I'll tell you, like, I would say this is the part where everyone's journey is going to be similar, but very different. And when you can accept, whatever it is that's going on inside, whether it's you don't ever validate your own emotions or recognize your own emotions, or you suppress everything, and women go through this just as much as men, especially with the whole feminism movement and everything. It's like, who we really are and how we feel, and just, shove them right down. So depending on, how fucked up of an individual you are, and come to find out as I start peeling back the layers, holy hell, like mine was really, I don't want to label it as bad, but it was way more than I was expecting. It's been the biggest challenge of my life. It's been the most rewarding, but it was I will say, a shit show. I didn't know how to have emotions and feelings. I had adult temper tantrums, not like out in public on the ground kicking and screaming, but I wanted to.
Right.
Wanted to do that. I felt that way because I'm like, I'm feeling everything now and I don't know how to deal with this. Like, I just want to push it back down again. But it's like, once you open the floodgates, you can't close them again for some fucking reason. Because trust me, I tried.
It's out there, yeah.
I was like, I don't like this. I want to close them again, but life's like, nope. You opened them. They're staying open. So I'm like, oh, now I got to learn how to deal with this. So I had a lot of war still going on. I was trying to figure things out. I still tried to self-sabotage. It's been, and this is over the last 6-7 years since Katy has met me. So I've had ups, I've had downs, I've had all these things. So I definitely distanced myself from people. I'm sure there were people that are like, okay, yeah, she's just no one I prefer to be around anymore. I still have some of the same friends, so it wasn't everyone, but most people will tell you when you go through a major transformation, people are going to fall out of your life. And if they do, it truly is for the best. And it doesn't even necessarily mean in a nasty way. There's people that I don't talk to anymore at all. There's people that it's because there was some kind of falling out in some kind of way, or some is just, we just weren't in alignment anymore and we just don't really talk. But if I saw them on the street, it's friendly. We just have the same things in common anymore. My life doesn't revolve around drama or anger or, drinking or, just a lot of these things that were in my life that just aren't anymore. Not that I don't still have a drink here and there, but I'm not out, just really throwing down all weekend.
Right.
So, there's people end up disappearing, but it really is for the best, because then you do meet new people that are very much in alignment with who you really are. And that once you have those kinds of relationships in your life and you get to experience the positivity and true love and acceptance of those around you, you realize that those other relationships that you had before, I don't mean romantically, just friendships, right. You're like, oh, wow, that wasn't even really a real relationship, or it was just based around this toxic thing. And you don't miss that, of course. You're much better off where you are, and you're happier, and you have peace and love inside. And I would take that any day of the week over anything. Peace of mind is priceless.
Right. I was going to say, this is kind of side note, kind of relevant, because you mentioned it, and it's been a topic that I've been hearing a lot lately. And I think like being, I don't want to say sober, but not going hard every weekend or like whatever routine, I think that's becoming sort of a trend. Like I know that like my mom and I think we're talking about it today. She's like, I just like have a glass of wine here and there, but like I have no desire to go on the weekends and drink like crazy and have that like party mode. Like I feel like that comes with like when you start to like love yourself, you realize you don't have to like do all these things. And I feel like being intoxicated in whatever way comes along with that. I don't drink as much. Not that I ever drink a ton, but it's like maybe on a weekend I'll have a beer or two, but it's not like this going hard every weekend. And I think that comes along with the journey to kind of relate it to the topic. So
yeah, I mean, there was a time where I didn't want to go out or do anything if I wasn't drinking, because that's not fun,
Right.
But I need to have fun. But that's not true at all. And I still, like I used to drink a lot, like a lot. I could outdrink a lot of men. That probably comes just from my Irish and Scottish ancestors. But yeah, I can just hold a lot of liquor for some reason. Even when I don't drink for a long time, it's just, I don't know.
You just have a tolerance.
I just have a tolerance, unfortunately. But yeah, I would go hard in the paint for sure. Didn't matter if it was a weekend, during the week, whatever. If there's something going on, I'm in. And it was, hard liquor, and it would be shots and heavy mixed drinks and things like that. And now, and I've gone, over the last 6-7 years, I've gone long periods not drinking, just to get clarity, especially when I was going inward and really doing a lot of soul searching and whatnot. I just felt like, one, my liver and kidneys sure as hell wouldn't mind the break. And two, I just really wanted clarity and to be able to focus. And I wasn't going to have that if I was going partying like I used to. And now I don't drink liquor at all. I think I've had 1 or 2 of those like rum chata shots, which most people wouldn't include as a liquor shot. It's pretty weak, but in the last, several years, and that's it. But I do love champagne and Prosecco. So I still enjoy that from time to time, nowhere near the level that I was going before. But that, you look at why did you do that? And me, most of the time was, one, I did kind of sell myself the idea of this is how you have fun. I had to unlearn that. But two, I was suppressing, especially if I was drinking during the week, I was suppressing. I just didn't want to deal with things. I wanted to just be numb. It was self-medicating.
Right. Yeah. We either associate it, like you said, with you associate it with you have to do it in order to have fun, or you have to do it to de-stress. And it's just, it's like anything, it's like it can become an unhealthy habit, not to the, you have people who are full on, a problem, like, to where it becomes more of a problem, or, but even just using it in an unhealthy manner in a limited capacity, can be negative. And just when you take that step away from it for a little while, you can see how you feel. I think that was the biggest thing. It's like, I don't think I ever got to a place where I was drinking. I would notice if I started to drink something every day or multiple times throughout the week, but I started to really recognize how bad I felt. And so just like removing it and doing it once a week, once every other week, or a glass of wine with a nice dinner is way different than a couple cocktails a night.
Right.
For sure. So yeah, that's been one of the huge transformations, but honestly, just the self-love and the self-acceptance, like everything that was coming up in my life that I was struggling with, I was able to tie it back that there was a lack of love in my life in some aspect, and just repairing and healing all of that. So when it comes to branding, it's important to know your target market and build that avatar. So you know exactly when you're marketing who the heck you're talking to. But before you even get to that, you really need to know who you are. And, to those that might be listening, you're like, I know who I am. And you might. And if you do, that's freaking awesome because I want
Kudos
that.
to you. Yeah.
I want that for everyone. But if you haven't really sat down in a very long time and did a self-assessment, you know, are you really you, or are you being who you think you're supposed to be?
Right.
Society wants to see. But when you go home at night and you're by yourself, or you go on a trip by yourself, anyway, any kind of time that you get alone and you're letting the real you out, well, then, okay, let's have Jesus talk. Because that is going to come out in your marketing, no matter how much you try to hide it, mask it. If you're not authentic, it shows. You might think you're fooling everyone, but everyone can see it.
Right.
Maybe you're fooling yourself. I don't know, but everyone else can see it. So, you know, just as important as, you know, your logo and the colors and all of those things that go into marketing and branding and knowing your target, all of that is important, but all of it is going to be such a waste of your time if you are not being your authentic self.
Right.
Yep.
I agree.
Thank you so much for sharing that too, because it just resonates with a lot of things that I've had to do recently. And I think that just shows that when you've been on a journey you know, we're in our 40s. So you go through times where you can feel really good about what you're doing for a really long time until you don't. And when you don't, like it's kind of like when you run a fever when you're sick, like it's a warning sign. And when you get into those spaces, because we all do it, like there's going to be times where you feel like you're on pace and you're on track and things are going really well. And then you get to that place, like, just like you described, where you're like, why do I not feel fulfilled or satisfied? Or why do I feel like there's a disconnect somewhere? Why do I not feel happy? And I've been in that same spot where it's like, I can't communicate what I want, but I can tell you what I don't want. And even sometimes when you start there, I think the hardest part for me was I knew what I didn't want and I knew what I didn't align with. But if you have the wrong people around you, or you know, somebody telling you, well, you're just a quitter. You know, if you don't do what this path is here, you're just a quitter. And so now you're thinking, oh, well, maybe they're right. Like but inside you're screaming like, no, like there's something wrong about what I'm doing right now. And, you know, it's freeing when you can get to that place. And, you know, I hate kind of like segueing it in just to be like part of the topic of what we're talking about, but you're 100% right. Where when you feel that confidence or that freedom, or hey, this is what I really love doing, it truly comes across that way to anybody that's watching.
Yes.
Well, we want to thank Nicole Corson for being on the podcast today. And where can we find you? Where can we find what you're working on, what you're doing?
Yeah, it's on social media, like most people. So I have a business page, Prissy Nikki, and on Instagram, it's the Prissy Nikki. Facebook, Prissy Nikki. I also have a personal page, Nikki Corson. So you can reach me there very, very easily. If you want to email me, it's besties@prissynikki.com. And I will be launching my self-improvement, self-love coaching and retreats July 14th. And it's it's branded the name Bitch, It's You.
I love that. That's nice. That has a good ring to it.
I love it.
Yes. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Awesome. Well, as usual, you can reach out to us if you have a topic you want to hear, any advice that you need. You could message our Instagram at F__K your pod, or you can email me at Emma@99creatives or Katy at
99creatives.
Basically, moral of the story, which I usually say at the end. I don't know why I've been saying it the last couple podcasts. What would be the moral of today's story?
Be your authentic self.
There you go.
Be unapologetically yourself. I love that saying in itself. And don't forget to do the damn thing. Okay, bye.